Hello there, good to see you again, and welcome to my brand new Art Attack Try It Yourself video. In fact, this is the second in a series of 3 videos in a set, but I'll tell you more about that later. Now, you know Art Attack by now. It's all about having fun with art. This video is going to concentrate on painting, but not boring painting. This is painting the Art Attack way, and you'll discover some of the wonderful things you can do with paint. I'm sure you'll have loads of ideas of your own, but there are plenty of ideas here that you can try out straight away. And the very first thing to do is to figure out which paint is which and which paint is the best one to use. Have you ever noticed all the different types of paint you can buy? Well, there's powder paint, there's poster paint, there's the good old watercolour paint, and then down in the tubes you've got oil paint, and over here on my big palette you've got acrylic paint. And what have they all got in common? You can paint pictures with all of them, but they're all different in their own way. And I guess the most delicate paint of all is probably watercolour. Now, if you just charge your brush up with plenty of water and just stroke the top of the watercolour palette there, you're getting your paint set, and then just paint it on in a thin wash like that. And it's a good idea just to get plenty of water on your brush, and you get this lovely sort of delicate wash that goes over your picture. And you notice one of the advantages of watercolour paint is it's actually see-through, so you can still see your sketch through it, which makes it brilliant for doing quick sketches out in the field. And if you just charge your brush up with even more paint, and you get some great sort of, well, look at the way it's sort of, the colours are bleeding into each other there. And it's all running into each other. Get some great effects there, and just do the side of the house like that. Very quick and very easy to paint with. I think watercolours are one of my favourites. Now, one of the great things about powder paint or poster paint is you can mix them very thinly with a lot of water, and you get those lovely washes like watercolour, or you can mix them rather thickly and just charge up your brush with plenty of paint, and you get this fantastic, thick, rich coat. Look at that. A real good cover of paint there, and again, just plenty of paint on. And this paint is really good for painting pictures where you want a really thick cover of paint. Or if you want to do a poster painting, hence the term poster paint. And you can also use it straight from the bottle. Now, you've seen me do this a couple of times. Watch this. Just squeeze it out of one of those ready-mixed poster paint bottles. And again, a great effect in itself. Look at that. And I think one of the most versatile paints is probably acrylic paint. Now, the good thing about acrylic paint is you can charge your brush up with plenty of water and just mix a very thin wash, see, just like watercolour. Or if you do it really thickly, you get this great sort of thick covering. But the very best thing about acrylic paint is that it'll go on almost anything. And just watch this. There's a trainer that I've started to paint up here, and it's just a case of dabbing on your acrylic paint. And it's best if you're going to paint on something like this to do it nice and thick. And when it dries, it'll stay on because it forms like a plastic skin over whatever it is that you're painting. Look at that. And even when your foot bends in the sneaker or trainer, it won't come off. Now, as I said there, one of my favourite paints is watercolours, but they can be quite awkward to use. However, I'm now going to let you into some real Art Attack tips and tricks which will make watercolours easy and fun to do. Have you got a set of these watercolour paints, but does your water always end up looking like this? and your pictures end up looking like this, a complete splodgy mess. Well, believe it or not, watercolours are one of the hardest art materials to use. Many times I've ended up with a complete mess like this because it's all run out of control. Well, here's some tips on how to get good results from your watercolour paints. First of all, draw a sketch on nice, thick drawing paper. Watercolours work best on thicker paper. And when you do your sketch, just do the outlines and the shapes. You don't need to put in any detail. And when it comes to mixing your paint, just mix it with water in the lid tray of your paint box. And if you haven't got one of those, then you can always use empty yogurt cartons that you've washed out. Now, the technique to watercolour painting is just simply to brush on the paint onto the paper and keep that wash going as quickly as you possibly can. Just keep it going down your paper like this and try not to go back on yourself. Even if you miss a bit, just keep going and you get a nice smooth wash. And you don't have to colour it in absolutely perfectly. Just control that wash all the way down to the bottom and then stop. Stop and allow it to dry. And you know, that is the secret to good watercolour paintings. Paint each section, then stop and allow it to dry before you move on to the next bit. That way, the paint won't all run into each other and go out of control. So I'm going to put this to one side, and that's exactly what I did with this picture. I did each section, I allowed it to dry before I moved on to the next section. And look at it, it's crisp, clear, and there are no runs because I controlled the paint. So when your background is dry, then you can add on a layer of shading. And to do this, you just mix your paint slightly thicker and add in touches of black. And then just paint it on to the dried background, and look at that, no runs at all. Just another little bit there, like that. Just to finish off some windows. And here's another good tip. It's pointless doing a watercolour painting with dirty water because you'll get all your paint a dirty grey. So use one lot of water to wash your brush with and another lot of water to paint with. And just make sure your background layers are really dry, and then you can add in some finer detail. And I'm just blotting on some shadow in the bushes here. Not too much detail, just some extra shadow there. And then just real fine detail with a thinner brush. And there. And there you have a perfectly clear and crisp picture with no runs. Of course, if you do want your paint to run, to create an effect like reflections in water, then get loads of water onto your brush. And actually, this is where dirty water comes in handy, because you just make your paper really wet with that dirty water. See that? Just a bit more in there. Get a bit of the sky reflection in as well. Make my paper really wet. And then just start to put in some darker reflections. So here we go, let's try those trees. Yes, look at that. And the paint's really out of control, running everywhere. Different colour. And there it is. Try it yourself, a watercolour painting, but don't forget, let all the bits dry before you move on to the next bit and keep the paint in control. Now then, a lot of people ask me, how do you draw or paint different types of weather, especially rain? Well, rain is easy. I just cheat. I use lots of water. Watch this. Here's the background to a picture that I've painted using watercolours, and I've let it dry completely because now I'm going to put a lot of water on it and I don't want the picture actually running everywhere. You'll also notice that I haven't painted any of the ground in. Well, you'll see why in a minute. So, OK, let's put some angry rain clouds in. First, mix lots of water with some angry purple paint and then just streak it across the top like that. And you see why I had to wait for the rest of the painting to dry, otherwise I'd be in a right watery mess now. And I'm just going to streak in some yellow to make it look really angry. In it goes. Oh, looks horrible, doesn't it? Now for the rain. Put lots of water onto the ground, and it's just a case of sloshing it on into all those nooks and crannies around the shapes that you've painted. And that's why I didn't paint the ground. And while it's still damp, paint the reflection of everything in your picture into the water. Now, I'm going to start with the reflection of that purple sky. And get those blocks of colour in. You don't need to be neat or anything. And the colours run and create reflections. Look at that, just like on a wet street. Oh, it's great fun to do as well. Just the reflection of the windows. And when that's done, leave it to dry. And when it is dry, add in some detail to your picture using either coloured pencils or wax crayons. And it's a good idea to keep to drab colours, because after all, it is miserable weather. So I'm just using black here. I'm just putting details in on the houses, like the windows and the roof line here. And maybe some detail on the door. And I think I'll use a wax crayon to just put in the light in the windows and on the lamps. Just a bit of foreground detail in here. In fact, this wax crayon goes over the dried paint beautifully. And don't forget, these detail bits will also reflect in the street, so just use squiggle reflections. Just a quick squiggle, and there you have a reflection. And another quick squiggle there, and reflection of the shining lights. And finally, take a white wax crayon and streak it across your picture to give the impression of rain. Do it very lightly, with the crayon on its side to start with, like that. And then some with the pointed edge, like that, just to pick out those raindrops. And there it is, a rainy picture. Yeah, what I really like about that rain picture is it gave me a chance to use so many different materials. Now, you'll see later some of the unusual ways and some of the unusual things that I've used to make paintings. But have a look at this real classic art attack from one of the Christmas programmes. It's an art attack where I used paint and wax crayon together. I drew the picture in wax crayon first, but watch out for how the paint changes the picture right at the end. Do you know what? I love everything about this time of year, especially if it snows. It's lovely, isn't it? And you know what? Here's a really good way of making a snowy, Christmassy picture. Take a piece of coloured paper, now blue is good for this, and draw a scene, anything you like, maybe something Christmassy, and use felt pens, crayons, paint. I'm going to use wax crayons for this. And I'm just going to start by just putting in the bits of the picture. And see if you can guess what it is. Just see if you can guess what this is. There, sort of giving it away really, isn't it? Doing this hair. some yellow mittens. Oh, my crane's broken, not to worry. And I'll put some highlights here, just on the top of the hat and on the top of the arms. See, that gives it a nice effect. And some red wellies, I think. And just put the doorway in. Oh, I've given away what it is now. I think you probably guessed that anyway. And just do a little Christmassy wreath there. You know, a lot of people ask me why I keep using wax crayons. It's simple. I think they're brilliant. A lot of people throw them away, don't they? Well, I think you can just block in big bits of colour like this. Look at this. There you have an immediate bush and tree. I think it's the texture I like of these wax crayons. And you can also put colour on top of colour. See that? And you can also turn them on their sides or on the edge like this and block in big bits of colour. Look at that. On it goes. Don't need to be neat, because you'll see why in a minute. And now for the snow, and this is great fun. Take some white poster paint, but don't mix it with any water at all. Just use it straight from the bottle, nice and thick, and then just dab it onto your picture with a brush in blobs. And it's just a case of putting it where the snow would go, on top of everything. Anything that the snow would land on, just put it on top of, like on the top of the windows here, and on top of the door frame, nice and thick. In the corners of the windows. It would even pile up in the doorway there, and even there on the Christmas wreath. And some more blobs on the trees at the side, and also on the ground. Then for the snowflakes that are still falling, take an old toothbrush or stiff painting brush and just dip it into your paint and flick it onto your picture using a piece of card. Now this is a great technique. It's called spatter, or should it be called splatter? Either way, it's great fun to do. Just flick the card towards you to put on those little blobs of paint. Can be a bit messy, so put some newspaper down. And as with a lot of things I do in Art Attack, the art material makes the picture. Try it yourself, a snowy picture. I'm a cheat, and I don't mind admitting it, especially when it comes to drawing or painting things that take ages, like leaves on trees. Now here's a picture of a tree that I've drawn, and that was the easy bit. Now to put on the leaves. And you know, when it comes to doing the boring bits, I don't mind cheating at all if it makes it easier and a lot more fun to do. And that's where this comes in. Any old paintbrush, preferably one with stiff bristles. And it's just a case of dipping it into some green poster paint, like that, and then just wiping off most of the paint. And the idea is to get your brush as dry as possible, so don't put any water on it. And then just hold it vertically above your picture and stab it down onto the paper. And look what happens. Look at that. Hundreds of leaves start to appear. It's a really good cheat, isn't it? It saves you drawing each leaf individually. And the more paint you put on and the more leaves you stab onto your picture, the thicker they get. Look at that. And it's also a good idea to have some dark paint. You could have some black or some dark brown, and just again wipe off the excess paint onto a piece of scrap paper and just start to dab or stipple some darker leaves around the bottom edge like this, just to give it a bit of shade around the bottom of the tree. And what about a lighter shade of paint, like a yellow or a white? And again, just dab off the excess. On it goes. And just create some lighter leaves around the top, like that. And there it is. And it didn't take any time at all. Not bad for a cheat, eh? And you can use this cheating technique to do lots of different bushes and leaves. Watch this. Just stabbing it on in exactly the same way. And you know, I'm all for cheating if it makes it easier. Looks just as good. Same down here. Just a couple of bits of black around the bottom of the bushes. And also in the plants on the trellis. And if you dab on some colour, just little dabs of colour, and again, get all the excess colour off your brush first, then you can create flowers. Again, in the same way. Just dab them on, stipple them on, and on, and on. Try cheating yourself. Dab on some leaves and flowers with a dry brush. You know Art Attack by now, and you know that I love to mess around with paint. Lots of it. And I'm always trying to come up with amazing new ways to do paintings, though some of them are sometimes a bit messy. Well, here's a fantastic Art Attack that's a bit naughty with paint. So whatever you do, get permission and make sure you put down lots of paper. So, OK, how would you like to use all of this stuff to create the most fantastic firework display in the night sky? Don't believe me? Come and have a look at this. Oh, yeah, and this one is fun to do. You see, your night sky is on the floor down there, a nice dark piece of paper, dark blue or a black. Lay it on top of some newspaper. So where are your fireworks then? They're over here, brightly coloured poster paints. And I like to use these fluorescent colours because they really are bright. And the idea is to mix them with lots of water to make them nice and runny. So, OK, you've got your fireworks, but how do you set them off? You're not going to believe this. With these used tea bags, scrunched up balls of tissue paper and cotton wool balls. And it's simply a case of taking, say, your tea bag, dipping it into the paint and just let that paint soak into that old tea bag to make it nice and soggy. Just dab off any excess and then hold it out at arm's length above your head over the paper, and 3, 2, 1, splat. Just remove the tea bag. And there is your first firework explosion. So, OK, this time I'm going to do some tissue paper, just a scrunched up tissue paper ball. And again, dip it into the paint to make it nice and soggy. Oh, this one really is quite soggy. Shake off the excess. And again, hold it out over your night sky. Very carefully keeping it to the newspaper there so I don't spill any of it. And 3, 2, 1. Splat. And if you're going to use tissue paper like this, it's a good idea to leave it onto the paper. It all adds to the exploding firework effect. So, OK, let's light up the night sky. And when you've done all your firework explosions, just leave them to dry. And when they've dried, just take off all of those tea bags, the soggy tea bags and the cotton wool balls. And when it's all dry, you'll have something that looks like this. Look at that. There's one that I've done that's dried and all that tissue paper's gone rock solid there. Good effect. And then just take some glue and just streak on some trails of glue just shooting out from the back of your firework explosions. Do them crisscrossing across the sky like fireworks do, just shooting out like that. And then take some glitter and sprinkle the glitter into the glue and just pause while the glue soaks into the glitter and the glitter sticks. And then just shake off the excess glitter, there like that. And there is your firework display. And to really finish it off, just cut out a silhouette of some buildings, a sort of skyline, out of black paper, and just glue that to the bottom. And then you can, if you want to, just take some chalk and just put some highlights on the top of those buildings where the fireworks have really lit up the rooftops. See, like that? And just put a couple of windows in there, so it really does look like buildings at night. And there it is. Try it yourself, your own personal firework display. And now for a classic art attack with paint, but don't laugh at the hairstyle. Now, you know how I like sloshing colour around? Well, I've discovered some great ways of making some very colourful pictures by moving paint. Just squeeze some ready-mix poster paint into a dollop that's just a bit bigger than a 2p piece, and then take another colour and just squeeze a ring like that around the first colour, and then take a third colour and squeeze another ring just on the outside of that. And then take another piece of paper, the same size as your first piece, only it can be a different colour, and carefully line it up and lay it on the top like that. Now, if you take your finger, you can just feel the paint squidging around in between those two pieces of paper. Then lay your finger flat on the top piece and just move the paint inside the two pieces of paper. Just squeeze it along, and you can actually feel it squidging under your fingers. Just move it all the way round like that in a sort of star shape. Just keep it moving. And then when you peel back the top piece, if you've used two different coloured pieces of paper, you get two very different pictures. Another way to move paint even further is to mix it with a little bit of water. Now, again, I've got some ready-mixed poster paint here, and I've mixed it with just a little bit of water, but it's a case of experimenting to get the right consistency. And just pour out some blobs of the mixture onto some card or stiff paper and make the blobs roughly about 6 centimetres apart from each other. And this in itself is great fun to do, just pouring it out onto the card there. So just move those to one side, and when you're ready, grab hold of the card and move some paint. And just before it hits the bottom, move it to the side, and again, over to the other side. And you just sort of judge when you want to turn the card. And there you have a fantastic motion picture. Lay it down flat to dry, and there it is. Try it yourself, move some paint, and give yourself an art attack. One of the things I've discovered about paint while I've been doing Art Attack is that you can put it onto paper using just about anything. And one of the simplest of all is cardboard. If you just cut out a piece of cardboard, you can just use it to slop paint on, like that. And you can move it around into shapes like that. And you can use it to do straight lines on the edge, like that. And you can even create different effects. Watch this twist effect. There we go. Place it there and give it a spin one way and the other way. And there you get this sort of crazy twist. And if you cut it into various shapes, you can even create patterns. Watch this. There we go. And it's great fun to do. And believe it or not, as well as cardboard, I've also used all of these things to paint with. They all create different effects, and they're all brilliant fun to do. Take a piece of thick paper or thin card and just draw some very simple cloud shapes onto the card. Now, a cereal box card is absolutely perfect for this. And the idea is to draw very simple cloud shapes like that, and then cut them out so you have some cardboard cloud shapes, and you just place them onto a piece of white drawing paper like that, and then take an old piece of sponge or even a scrunched up ball of tissue paper and dip that into some watered down paint or ink. Now, you can use ink for this, but I've got some watered down paint here. Put lots of water into your paint or ink, make it nice and runny, and then carefully holding the clouds in place with your finger, dab your sponge around those card clouds onto the paper like that, just going all the way around your card. And you can use nice bright blues for this, nice bright sky blues, or you could even use pinks or reds or oranges or even purples, any of those colours that you get in the sky at the end of the day. You know, those fantastic sunset colours. Just make sure your card stays in place. And when you've gone around all your card clouds, just very carefully remove the card from the paper. 1, 2 there. You can do as many as you like, and another one there. And there you have a cloudy sky effect. And here's a good idea. If you just get your finger and just smudge some of these clouds around the edges to create a nice fluffy cloud effect like that. And do the same on all of the clouds, and then leave them to dry. And when they're dry, they're really versatile because you can use them as a background to lots of different things. Now, I've done quite a big one here with lots of clouds on it, and look what I've done here. I've drawn a skyline onto a little piece of card, and I've cut it out and folded it, and you get this fantastic 3D effect along the edges. And look at that cloudy sky there. That works brilliantly, doesn't it? Or what about this? You can use these cloudy skies for cartoons, and they look really good because they're bright blue, and there's a cartoon aeroplane. Or you could even do your cloudy sky at night, or just as the sun is going down. Look at those rich reds and oranges. And you could even cut out some magazine photos to create a picture like that. Brilliant, isn't it? Try it yourself, a sponge cloudy sky. People often ask me, what's the weirdest thing I've ever painted with? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I'll show you in a minute. But have you seen a painting where the paint seems amazingly thick? Well, chances are it was done with one of these. It's called a palette knife. And the way artists use these is they scoop up big dollops of paint like that and just smear it onto the picture. Now, you get these palette knives from posh art shops, and the problem is they can be quite expensive. So I use one of these, a plastic picnic knife. You get these in cheap sets of 3, and you get a spoon and a fork thrown in for free. And the great thing is you can use these as well and get some great effects. Now, you use the knife just like an ordinary artist's palette knife. Scoop up the paint like that and smear it on nice and thickly. And it's a good idea to just sketch in part of your picture before you do it, just to give you a guide as to where to put that paint. And this is great fun to do this, just slurping up all that blobby paint, look at that, and smearing it on nice and thick. Don't work it too much. And it's a good idea to have some tissues handy, so you can every now and then just wipe off the knife to get another colour. And this is a very important bit. Watch this. Just a bit of highlight along the edge. But again, don't work it too much. Now for the spoon. The great thing about the spoon is you can scoop up great big dollops of colour and just flop it onto your picture. Look at that. Just spread it around like that. Any idea what it is yet? And the fork you can use to just scratch in to the paint. Look at that, just scratching into that paint there. Just spread it out by scratching in. Now, a little bit of darker green just to give it some shadow in there. And just wipe that off. And now the knife again. And here's a good technique. If you just dip the knife in on its edge, like that, and just pick up the paint, you can get some nice straight lines. Just place it on there, on the picture, and just rock the knife backwards and forwards. You get some nice straight lines out there. See those? And you can experiment yourself with a knife, fork and spoon and get different effects. Just some reflection there. Just spread that on and blob on some flowers. Again, don't overwork it. Just dabbing on this really nice thick paint. Oh, it's really good to do. These really nice thick blobs of paint all add to that classic art feel. An old-fashioned oil painting. Now, a final touch at the end of the fork. Just dab on some little dots of white. And there it is. Try it yourself. A plastic knife, fork and spoon picture. Well, that's just about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's made you think, oh, I want to do that. Well, now's the time, because you can do it. You can art attack. Go on, try it yourself. Now, at the beginning, I said this was the second in a 3-part series of Try It Yourself Art Attack videos. The next one is all about great stuff to make and do. And the first one is all about drawing, so look out for those as well. So, time to say ta-ra. Be creative, have fun with your art, and have plenty of art attacks. Bye for now, ta-ra! And I'll leave you with one last painting, done the art attack way.
There are loads of fantastic Art Attack videos to choose from, all featuring your favourite Art Attacks, the greatest episodes, top tips and tricks from Neil, and a chance to see his ever-changing hairstyles. Available from all good video stores. Or check out these websites for more details. The Art Attack magazine. It's the most art-tastic magazine you can buy. 36 pages jam-packed with fantastic things to make, do, draw and colour. And every month it comes with a special free gift attached. Available from all leading newsagents and supermarkets, it's the #1 art magazine. Have yourself an Art Attack and flick through these fantastic files from Fun Facts. Neil shows you how to paint and draw monsters, machines, animals and people with easy-to-follow instructions. Plus stickers, puzzles and space to write down all your personal stuff. Take an exclusive look behind the scenes at Art Attack in the new Art Attack Annual and find loads of amazing things to paint, draw and do in these other great books from Dorling Kindersley. Secret Stuff, Great Art Attack Stuff, and the original Art Attack with Neil Buchanan. Egmont Children's Books' range of Art Attack activity titles are packed with fantastic Art Attacks for you to try. These fun books are full of wacky and wild projects to keep you entertained for hours. And there's one other great thing about these books. They're pocket money priced. Hasbro has a great range of thrilling kits that include everything you need to have an Art Attack. Mad Mail, Crazy Faces, Fantasy Den, and the all-new Secret Keepers and Jungle Surprises kits. The Art Attack Big Bin from Hasbro is a must-have art store for any budding artist and includes lots of wacky art tools and loads of ideas for how to use them. Create your very own Art Attack at home with this fabulous range of stationery from Helix. The essential Art Attack paint tube pencil case, a giant folding art rule with cutouts and stencils, as well as a collection of funky stencil packs, all of which you can mix and match to come up with your own fun designs. Not forgetting the double-ended stamper marker pens, brilliant for adding a personal touch to all your creations. Pens, pencils, rulers, coloured pencils and erasers all receive the wacky Art Attack treatment in this great range of fun stationery from Staedtler. Ranging from a pack of 3 Art Attack pencils for just 99p through to the Classroom kit at £5.99, Staedtler's Art Attack range is also pocket money friendly. The Pritt Art Attack adhesive range is high quality, washable, safe and solvent free. In addition to the Art Attack PVA glue, the range includes Art Attack Shiny Stuff, which adds that ultra-high gloss finish to all your creations, and Art Attack Fun Tack, the reusable tack that has many uses. The Art Attack CD-ROM is packed with creative tools for children to use on their PC, complete with advice from Neil. There's a creative studio, a huge collection of paint features, and the exciting cartoon creator. Also, look out for Art Attack Print It, coming soon. Available from most good computer stores. Art Attack Papers. Perfect for all those papercraft activities, modelling and picture making. Handy packs containing super project ideas. Great fun, great colours, great Art Attacks. You can find details on all these products, plus fact sheets from the TV show and loads of stuff to do, on the new Art Attack website at www.artattack.co.uk.